Okay, good afternoon. My name is Karen Goodfellow. I'm the director of the Boston Art Commission through my position in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture as Director of Public Art. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September meeting of the Boston Art Commission. As background, the Boston Art Commission, staffed by the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, is an independent board composed of 2 ex officio and 7, currently 6 appointed volunteer art and design professionals that holds public meetings to review and vote on matters concerning the city's art collection. Meetings are generally held on the second Tuesday of each month to review current public art projects cited on or proposed for City of Boston property, in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. We are conducting this meeting virtually. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Art Commission, the public may access this meeting through telephone and video conferencing. I'm joined by the Boston Art Commission staff working within the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, Sarah Rodrigo, Public Art Project Manager, and Tricia Gilrain, Collections Manager, who will both be helping to facilitate this meeting. I'll now hand it over to Chair Mark Pasnick and Vice Chair Aqua Holmes, who will call the meeting to order and go over some further instruction.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Welcome, everybody. I'm calling the public hearing to order at 4:07 p.m. Today, the Commission will be holding a public meeting of the Boston Art Commission. I will begin by taking roll call of the commissioners to confirm a quorum. After I state your name, commissioners, please say here. Aqua Holmes.
Here.
Camilo Alvarez, I believe he's not here. Michael Canizzo.
Here.
Cara Elliott Ortega.
Here.
George Fifield.
Here.
Robert Friedman.
Here.
Lisa Tung.
Here.
A quorum has been reached. The Commission and staff wish to provide some instruction on using this platform effectively to offer questions and comments by members of the public. Next slide. I'll read the slide. As with regular BAC meetings, project partners and members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on items the Commission will vote on. After presentations and Commissioner clarifying questions, the Chair and Vice Chair will invite public comment. Please remember to keep your comments on topic and to 2 minutes or less. More detailed instruction will be provided later in the meeting when we get to voting sections. Next slide. We'll be following the publicly posted agenda, which you can see on the next slide. Sorry, I think, yep. So here you can see the agenda, 4 p.m. opening, 4:10 discussion director's report. We'll go over a series of items with the director's report. And then next page. And then we will have items for review, public testimony, and commission and vote later in the meeting. And eventually adjournment. We'll now review the meeting's minutes from the previous August 11th meeting of the Boston Art Commission. Are there any comments or modifications any commissioner would like to make to the previous minutes? I did send 2 minor issues to Tricia via email. One was a typo and one was just a suggestion. Are there any other comments to add? Okay, hearing no comments, I'd open it for a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll
Seconded.
Lisa seconded, I think. Is that correct? So all those in favor, I'll read off names. Aqua Holmes.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Cara.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
And Lisa.
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. So the motion passes. The minutes have been approved. We'll now have Karen Goodfellow give her director's report. Karen.
Thank you. So first we'll review existing public art projects. We're going to start with Christopher Columbus, the plan for review and study. At the August meeting of the BAC, the Commission heard testimony from the public in attendance regarding a possible review and study of the Christopher Columbus statue. At the end of that meeting, the BAC voted to initiate a process to study the future of the Christopher Columbus statue. This study will be guided by a group within the Commission who will develop a robust public engagement process. This work is ongoing. We'll be taking testimony at a future meeting, but today I'll just be reporting out. So for anyone who's attending today who wants to give testimony, we will have an announcement in the future for when that will happen, but that is not on today's agenda. In the following slides, I'll address progress since our last meeting, including written testimony received, updates on conservation reports, an overview of general BAC consideration criteria for memorials, and next steps. During the August meeting, we heard verbal testimony from 13 individuals, which included requests for more time for people to give verbal testimony. The BAC continues to receive written testimony regarding the Christopher Columbus statue. To date, we've received 113 emails or form submissions from the public, all of which have been shared with the Commission. If you wish to submit written testimony to the Art Commission, we ask that you submit to our Google form. You can see a screenshot of it here on the right side of your screen. You can access this form on the BAC webpage, linked at the bottom of the screen here. So that is the boston.gov, Boston Art Commission page, which is on the Arts and Culture section of the city's website. If you have trouble accessing this form, you can also send written testimony to bac@boston.gov. We'll continue to gather these comments and share them with the Commission. Additionally, we have received 2 conservation reports for the Christopher Columbus statue. One was just received this morning. We're continuing to read through them and we'll be sharing them with you, commissioners, but we share a brief summary. As I said, we've just received these, one of them we had earlier and one of them we were working to get and we just got in this morning. And we want to be clear that we're sharing the facts of the reports here with you for transparency and not interpreting the content within them. And we'll not be voting on this today, as this is one of the important aspects we'll be taking into consideration as we go forward. According to both reports, conservators could attempt to restore the head and neck area to its original appearance, but the repairs would be visible. They would be using mortar to the head and neck to do so. In terms of preventing future damage, the structural integrity of the artwork cannot be improved as a means of mitigating future damage. There are no known materials that can strengthen stone to make it more impervious or structurally sound. Internal structural reinforcements, such as a longer pin in the head and neck, could provide more resistance to the removal of the head. However, if significant force were used on the larger pin, it could result in more damage to the surrounding stone than the smaller pin. Also, coating the marble in a barrier solution would prevent the absorption of paint and other substances. Coatings will need to be renewed on a regular basis to remain effective. And that should also be considered that a more permanent coating would change the appearance of the marble. We are going to continue to analyze these reports and we'll share any additional conservative recommendations with you when we receive them. As part of this conversation, the BAC will be guided by the general consideration criteria for memorials like the Christopher Columbus statue. We're sharing this information with you here and with the public to offer context and to act as a reminder of the parameters of the purview of the Boston Art Commission. There are 2 criteria for the acceptance of artwork into the city's collection in our collection policy and process document, which you can find on our website. That will take you through it in more detail, but the curatorial vision and the memorial policy are what we'll be going over very briefly here. Please do note that these criteria address the statue and associated pedestal only, and that the purview of the Art Commission does not cover the naming or the renaming of the park, which would fall under the Boston Parks Commission. If you are interested in speaking to them, you can visit the City of Boston website, boston.gov/Parks and Recreation Commission, and you should be able to learn more about their processes there. At the bottom of this slide is the BAC's curatorial vision, and this is the guiding vision for the acceptance of artwork into the city's collection. We use this as we're commissioning new works, and you may be familiar with it if you attend any of our meetings. The curatorial vision is to commission and approve innovative and transformative artworks that engage communities, enrich and enliven the urban environment, are driven by an artistically strong vision, enhance the diversity of the existing collection, respond directly to a specific environment, and possess durability appropriate to the lifespan of the work. And here on this next slide, you'll see the BAC's memorial policy, which is additional criteria applied to memorial artworks. Briefly, any memorial proposed for the city must have a historical significance to Boston. It must honor the subject, but be considerate of the broader community. It should have a significance to future generations, which is best served by allowing for a 5 to 10 year gap between event or passing of an individual to allow for sufficient historical perspective. The city does not accept memorials for subjects or persons who are already memorialized. Memorials must have a historic or thematic relationship with their specific proposed location, and they should also consider the long-term impacts of conditions such as weather, vandalism, vagaries of time, and changing attitudes of their importance. As with all public art in the city of Boston, memorials cannot contain logos, trademarks, or advertisements. You can access the full policy and processes document on the Boston Art Commission webpage, which is linked on the bottom of this slide, and that is on the City of Boston website. The Boston Art Commission will continue to work with staff to coordinate future special meetings for public testimony concerning the Christopher Columbus statue. And on this slide, you'll see some helpful links to help you stay updated regarding these meetings, as well as where you can view agendas and access information so that you can attend upcoming meetings. If you wish to receive email notice of BAC meetings, please provide your email on the Google form available on the Boston Art Commission webpage, as well as on our publicly posted agendas. And so that's we've been taking in when people are submitting information to the forms and adding them to our email list. Okay. Emancipation Group is up next, and we'll be going over some updates on that. Following the commission vote to remove and recontextualize the monument, BAC staff is still in the process of selecting qualified conservators to document, including the 3D scans, remove and replace and place into temporary storage. Staff will work with the selected conservator to develop a feasible timeline for removal and verify that the storage facility will achieve appropriate security and environmental standards for temporary housing of the piece. We received 2 submissions for the conservator application, and we are working with the Director of Finance and Administration, Naida Faria, to award a contract in the coming weeks. BAC staff continues to take public testimony through an online form designed to gather suggestions regarding the recontextualization of Emancipation Group, and access information to the form can be seen on this next slide. You see, this is, again, it's the form that you can fill out if any of you attending the meeting today want to share your thoughts on the future of the artwork, including where it should be set in the future and what the future of the space should be. The feedback form is available through the BAC's webpage regarding the history and future of Emancipation Group, and is accessible via the link in the slide. We welcome community input and feedback as we examine equity and representation in the city's art collection through public dialogue. Having unanimously voted to document, remove, and study relocating the statue to a place where it can be better interpreted, the BAC is now seeking ideas and comments. We're requesting that the public share potential sites for relocation, ways to recontextualize the artwork, and suggestions you have for new artwork. And so during the vote on June 30th, the formation of 2 subcommittees were recommended by the Commission: an event subcommittee and a recontextualization subcommittee. I believe we have an update from the recontextualization subcommittee. Aqua Holmes and Camilo Alvarez were the heads of the event subcommittee, and next steps for that one are still in development. But Bob Freeman and Camilo were the head of the recontextualization subcommittee, and then I invite Commissioner Freeman to speak on the subcommittee's progress.
Thank you, Karen. I'm pleased to announce that our recontextualization subcommittee members all have accepted our invitations. I'm more than happy because these members are passionate about public art and passionate and experts in their field. I'm going to read a list of those people and the organizations that they're connected to. Kyra Singleton is director of the Royal House and Slave Quarters. Representative Byron Rushing is a past member, Massachusetts Legislature. Barry Gaither is Director of the National Center for African American Artists. Greg Gaylor is Director of Boston Preservation Alliance. Marita Rivero is President of Rivero Partners. Nikki Green is Associate Professor at Wellesley College. And Camilo Alvarez is a Boston Art Commissioner. And the subcommittee plans to meet 1 or 2 times per month to discuss the next step for the removal of the Emancipation Group. We also hope to engage the subcommittee in discussions about when, where, how, who, and what might occur with the Park Square site once the Emancipation Group is removed. We hope to begin our first meeting sometime mid-September, and we look forward to letting everyone know how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
So I'm going to jump in here. As many of you may know, Fern Cunningham Terry, who was a sculptor operating in Boston and other parts of the country, and who placed monumental sculptures on the Boston landscape, notably Harriet Tubman, the first woman to be memorialized on the City of Boston landscape. She recently passed away, and because of her dedication and the amount of work that she did with the City of Boston, we wanted to make a statement and also issue a proclamation. So I'm going to read both of those right now. It is with great admiration and appreciation that we honor sculptor and fine artist Fern Cunningham for the work she contributed to the Boston community and landscape in her long career. Nationally known for Step on Board, her monumental tribute to Harriet Tubman in the South End, Fern's public artworks expressed her artistic range and sensitivity. The grand gestures of Rise, created in partnership with artist Karen Udemy, announcing entry into Mattapan, and The Value of a Life in John Eliot Square, Roxbury, gather us as a community to honor our youth. The intimate beauty and balance of Family Circle in Dorchester, reverencing the family, and the Sentinel in Forest Hill Cemetery, Jamaica Plain, celebrating the African woman, keeping peaceful and loving watch over our city, create moments of reflection. Fern was a dedicated leader, educator, engaged member of Boston's arts community, and we're grateful for her immense contributions to the city. We look forward to the completion of what will be her final work, memorializing Justice Edward O. Gourdine and African-American veterans of American wars to be installed in Nubian Square, from the Boston Art Commission and the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. The proclamation reads, oh my goodness, it's so tiny. Can you make it larger?
You should be able to see it in the notes as well, Ikwa. On this slide, you'll see a picture of Fern Cunningham Terry with her sculpture, The Sentinel,
Thank you, Karen.
as well as a proclamation and Step on Board.
Got it.
Yep.
Whereas Boston sculptor Fern Cunningham Terry created public artworks since the 1970s with a keen focus on Black history, the Black community, and Black women's unsung stories. And whereas after graduating from Boston University, Cunningham taught art at the Elma Lewis School of Fine Arts until it closed its doors in 1985. And whereas she received her first of many major commissions in the 1990s to create Earth Challengers in Dorchester, and her work has since graced neighborhoods across Boston, including Family Circle in Dorchester, Rise in Mattapan, The Value of a Life in Roxbury, and the Sentinel at Forest Hill Cemetery. And whereas one of her best known works is Step on Board in Harriet Tubman Park in the South End, which was the first statue honoring a woman on city-owned land. And whereas her most recent work is a sculpture of the late Justice Edward O. Gourdine, to be installed with artworks honoring African-American veterans in Edward O. Gourdine Veterans Memorial Park in Nubian Square. Therefore, Martin J. Walsh, Mayor of Boston, does hereby proclaim August 20th, 2020 to be Fern Cunningham Terry Day. Round of applause for Fern and all that she did for us. Thank you so much, Fern. And now there's going to be some words from the mayor.
I think we're not hearing the sound.
No, it looks like it's not working. Can we drop the link to that into the chat so people can see it? Okay, so unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna be able to hear that now, unless Christina, do you have any recommendations to fix that?
I think you just have to, like, if you exit the screen share and then screen share again, but click to share your audio, it should work.
Of public art, Black history, and women's history made a profound impact. From here in Boston's neighborhoods to communities all across the United States, Fern made sure that important American stories got told. One of her best-known works, Step on Board, in Harriet Tubman Park in the South End, was the first statue honoring a woman on a city-owned land. Her final piece, a life-size statue of Justice Godin that will be installed in the Justice Edward O. Godin Veterans Memorial Park, will help us honor the efforts of Black veterans throughout history and today. Fern made it her mission to highlight the contributions of the Black community and work to recognize groups who have been underrepresented for generations. I want to share my deepest condolences with Fern's family, friends, and everyone who knew and loved her. As a city, we will honor her memory by continuing to invest in public art and working hard to make sure that the stories of women and people of color are lifted up and celebrated. Fern's legacy will continue to inspire and uplift Bostonians for generations to come.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to go over in-process public art.
Karen, may I interrupt you for a moment? Because I missed a very important member of our subcommittee. It's Dr. Kimberly Pinder, who is the acting president of Mass Art, and she's one of our most important members, and I certainly wanted to mention her.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, we're happy to be able to work with her and hope that she'll be joining us here in the near future.
Thank you.
So we'll be going over long-term so the long-term projects are, we have some listed out here. This is the first page of our overview of current city-driven long-term public art commissions. We've organized this list by the project phases we use for BAC review, which also align with our commissioning contract payments. We currently have one project in fabrication, Width and Web by Matthew Hintzman at the JP, BPL, and Curtis Hall, BCYF. And I know we will have some images to share with you soon. I've seen some sneak peeks of the work he's doing, and it's really quite beautiful. We also have two projects in final design phase and two projects in preliminary design phase. We have 4 projects in various stages of contract negotiations. And as you can see, one of the commissions here, Studio Luz and Marlin Forrester for the DeWitt Playground. And the other 3 are listed on the next slide. The 3 other commissions in contract negotiation are for the Boston Arts Academy and the recently awarded commission for the East Boston Police Station. We're in the process of artist selection for the Ruggles Corridor Integrated Public Art Project. We also have 2 open calls to artists. The Roxbury Branch call for the Roxbury Branch Boston Public Library closes tomorrow, and the Adams Branch call closes next Wednesday, September 16th. There's a virtual Q&A for the Adams Branch call tomorrow night at 6 p.m. We anticipate releasing 4 more calls to artists in the coming months for a wide variety of sites, including City Hall Plaza, the Northern Avenue Bridge, the New Engagement Center in Newmarket, and a Gateway Commission at the intersection of Tremont and Ruggles Street in Roxbury. I'd also like to share with you an update on our ongoing work on our commissioning processes and policies, particularly regarding long-term artworks. As you may recall, we're in the process of major assessment and cataloging of the existing collection, and we continue to review and analyze our commissioning processes, particularly in regards to the Percent for Art program. And we've broken our work down into 8 key areas, which you can see here. So the changes to art commissioning processes and policies, really the question we're asking ourselves is how do we ensure an equitable and decolonizing approach to the new public art commissions, as well as the examination of the existing collection. So to do that, we have 8 key areas we've identified. First, to analyze the current collection to understand who is represented by whom and how. Next, to revisit the curatorial vision. Thirdly, to assess our project scoping and artist selection. And then to consider the thematic development of the artworks and how we may address content in the calls to artists. Fifth, to create and or improve opportunities for artist development. 6, to review seats on the Art Commission to ensure that the commission reflects Boston's cultural identity. 7, to improve staff capacity and diversity. And 8, finally, to assess and improve communication strategies to reach more artists. And that, you know, not simply looking at that as outreach, but really taking a stronger view of how those connections are happening. This process has been and will be ongoing. This is a continuous process of assessing, learning, and adjusting. As we spend time reflecting on our existing collection, our office continues to work towards improving our work with both experienced and new public artists in Boston, especially artists of color. We're creating new pathways for Boston artists to gain the experience required for the successful completion of large-scale, long-term public artworks as part of a multi-pronged approach to improving the diversity of Boston's permanent collection. We look forward to reporting out to you more in depth in coming months. We'll be using the Art Commission meetings to hold conversations, to share updates, and to get public input and feedback. Okay, now we'll just go over short-term projects. We have The Shape of Play with artist Sari Carell. I apologize if I've mispronounced your name. Working with the Jewish Arts Collaborative and Now and There in Christopher Columbus Park. The Shape of Play is an art and sound installation commissioned by the Jewish Art Collaborative, also known as J Arts, and curated and produced by Now and There. The installation was approved by the Art Commission during our March meeting, but because of circumstances related to COVID-19, the installation was delayed until August 24th, and it has since been installed. So here, you'll see it says proposed sculpture location, but it has actually already been installed, and we will see a picture of that on the next slide. These photos were taken about a week following the installation of Shape of Play by Now and Their staff. The piece will be deinstalled the week of November 2nd. There will be 4 online dialogues with the artist. The first is tomorrow, September 9th at noon. You can access more information regarding these online events through the webpage on the slide. And I imagine that Now and There also has information on their website. Okay, and next we have Emanation, am I saying that correctly? I hope. Indigenous Furtherance, a sculpture on the continual presence of local Indigenous people. It's a proposal conceptualized by Lily E. Manycolors and created by Lily E. Manycolors in partnership with Andre Strongbearheart Gaines Jr. This project will take the form of a carved and painted wood sculptural work with hand-painted and carved images and text to be sited within the Boston Center for the Arts Garden and Public Plaza. The sculpture will be approximately 5 feet by 4 feet wide, carved from wood and hand painted using paint chosen for sustainability and durability outdoors. It's comprised of a base and pillar that are part of a single piece of wood and will be stabilized at 4 corners with stakes driven into the ground in the garden. The piece will be installed on September 30th and deinstalled on November 15th. Artist Lily E. Many Colors is here with Randy Hopkins from the Boston Center for the Arts if we do have any questions about them, but we're just giving you an update on the piece. And here on the next slide, you can see the installation site and the BCA Plaza. This is on Tremont Street in the South End, if you're not familiar with the location. And if the commissioners have any questions, again, the artist and curator should be online with us.
So just to clarify that the images that we're looking at aren't exactly what the piece will look like. And I wonder if Lily would like to speak to that and why it's a red square, red triangle, or rectangle, I'm sorry, in the landscape in this image.
Alito, I was wondering if you were going to show the sketch of the actual piece. The red square is just a placeholder. I don't have access to the technology to actually implant my drawing into the photograph. So red square is what I had to work with. Karen, is there an image of the sketch though?
Trisha, do you have that on hand?
I can locate that and share that with the commission right now.
I think if you send it to Sarah, maybe she can share it. Or if you're able, do we have it so that you could share your screen and show it?
I'll send it to Sarah.
Sarah, did you get that?
I do not yet have it.
Okay, so why don't we
Sarah.
move forward into administrative and we can loop back to this?
Sounds great.
Thanks. So sorry to keep you waiting. We will share that with you once we have it. We'll just review a few administrative items. Again, we wanted to remind you that because of COVID-19, City Council schedules have been altered, and for this reason, pending nominations to the Art Commission, John Andress for the Institute of Contemporary Art, Ryan Hone for the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and Dr. Kimberly Pinder for the Massachusetts College of Art and Design have been postponed until the City Council is able to schedule them for presentation. We are looking forward to letting you know when they've been able to review and they have answers to us, but at this time we don't have notice of that yet. So we just wanted to remind you of that.
Is it possible for the commission to make a statement to the city council or something like that? I mean, this has now been many months that we've been.
Sure.
It feels to me like we need to go on public record saying that we definitely need our new commissioners on the commission, that there's a lot of work on us right now, and that as an all volunteer commission, we could certainly use the help of new voices and new energy.
Yes. Okay, so we'll take from that. Is there anything else from any of the other commissioners? No? Okay, so we'll share that with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So next up, we have the presentations for public testimony, commission, and review.
Any luck on Lily's project?
Sarah, do you have it?
No. Okay.
Okay, well then we can move on to the presentations for review, public testimony, and commission vote. We'll move on to this agenda item. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen there are instructions for public testimony, which Karen Goodfellow will briefly go over now.
Sure. So you can comment in a few different ways. So if you have not become familiar with Zoom yet, you often let us know or anyone know that you want to speak by raising your hand, which you can do through the platform or by typing your question to the chat box via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are here by phone, you can let us know that you want to speak by pressing *9 to raise your hand. And when you do so, staff will put you in a digital line, and when it's your turn, we'll announce your name and unmute you. We ask that you state your name, your pronouns, and if you could then share your comment or question and keep it brief if possible. And we'll wait 2 minutes to gather comments and questions when we come to that time. On the next slide, you'll see what it will more or less look like when you do start to try to talk. You can see, you can click on the participants button over there on the bar under number 1. The participants just looks like different people. So you can press on that, and then you would click on the raise hand, which is just that blue hand there at the bottom of the participants list. And we will then lower your hand, and you will be able to share your name. And we ask again that you unmute yourself, or we will unmute you, and then you can share your comment or question. And that other than these periods that you do keep yourself muted. Okay.
Okay, next slide. We move on to our first presentation, which is Seawall, presented by Matthew Pollock. Matthew, if you would unmute yourself, state your name before we begin, and then begin your presentation.
Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for having me back. Sorry for my appearance. We're in the midst of installing a few pieces here in the East Boston shipyard, which I wasn't able to share in advance some photos, but if I have a chance to share my screen, I'd be happy to share images of the work that's going up right now. But we have some exciting work to share with you for the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway. So next slide. This is just a little background about our organization. It's all public art for the oceans. So we're painting for a purpose to give our oceans a creative voice through this project. And we're working with the community to address local issues relating to our oceans, local climate issues relating to our oceans. And each mural is a different topic that relates to local issues here in Boston. Next slide. This is the piece proposed by Artists for Humanity, which includes a team comprised of several youth leaders from East Boston The teens picked a few different topics. They decided to incorporate a few different topics, being biodiversity loss, intersectional environmentalism, and the North Atlantic right whale. The North Atlantic right whale. And these are the topics that you see addressed here. We have the skyline as seen from East Boston, our view from our neighborhood here.
Cities in America.
Sorry. This is our view here, and it's seen in this case with sky, water instead of sky, and the animals that we see that we don't see in front of us in reality, but that are actually being affected by us in reality. So it's sort of a surrealist depiction of the animals that we are impacting, but can't see our impact on them directly from our viewpoint. So it's kind of bringing the animals into our viewpoint. And it was created by the youth at Artists for Humanity. They only had 1 week to come up with this amazing concept, but they did it. So this will go under the Porter Street Bridge underpass on the East Boston Greenway. We're really excited. We've got some incredible youth and mentors to put the project together. And yeah, next slide. This is the updated rendering from Sophie Tuttle, who will be the artist of the Sumner Street underpass of the Greenway. And this depicts the salt marsh sparrow, which is native to East Boston here in Belle Isle Marsh. So this bird is losing habitat due to sea level rise. So Sophie has drawn the water levels at certain years, and it kind of gives you an understanding of how that impacts the birds at Belle Isle Marsh, specifically the salt marsh sparrow, which is I think a beautiful bird to represent on the Greenway, since the Greenway does lead almost all the way to the Belle Isle Marsh, and hopefully soon will be leading closer or all the way to the Belle Isle Marsh. Next slide. Oh, and so that's pretty much it.
Great. Well, thank you for your presentation. We'll now have a moment for the commissioners to ask any questions that they have of the presenter, of Matthew. And after that, we'll open it up to any public comment on the art.
Yeah, I do. Sorry to interrupt you, Mark. I do know that we have a couple of community members from the Greenway on the call with us today who are here to support the project as well.
Great.
Thank you.
So commissioners, any comments from any of you that you'd like to make, or questions?
I have a question. Matthew, thank you for your presentation. The images are lovely, and I especially like them because youth were involved in creating them. I wonder, will there be any supporting documentation to help the public know what these murals are about and what form those might take?
Yes, great question, Ekwa. We are going to have signage on site that we will be creating. It'll be created after the murals are installed. That will be there'll be an artist statement, as well as scientific data that is associated with the topics they've chosen, as well as a little bit of information about intersectional environmentalism and what that means to the youth, and how they would describe the definition of intersectionality and how that relates to environmentalism.
Well, would you mind explaining that to me? And
yeah, absolutely.
Before.
Sorry. So yeah, so intersectional environmentalism, it's really about bringing all voices into the conversation of environmentalism, focusing on suppressed and unheard voices, historically unheard or suppressed voices, and bringing those into the leading voices of the conversation about environmental concerns. Oftentimes, especially in terms of the people that are impacted, by the consequences of climate change are often, you know, they are the minorities and you know, lower, you know, economically, sorry, I'm stumbling here, but oftentimes the people that suffer from the impacts of climate change are those who don't have a voice in fixing this, you know, coming up with the solution, and we want to bring their voices into the solution. So that's a bit about what intertextual environmentalism is about.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Other comments from commissioners or questions? It's nice to learn things in these meetings. Thank you, Matthew.
Absolutely.
Okay, I see two hands up. Maria de la Luz Lobos Martinez, are you on the line? If you can unmute yourself, you can.
Hi. Yes. Well, thank you, Matthew, for all the effort that you're putting in this and the work that you have done for the Murals projects. My name is Maria Lobos. I go by she, her, and I work as a design and planning consultant for the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway. And today I'm here basically to represent their voice. So we have two opinions about this. One is like the Greenway Council is 100% supporting the Safi title mural right now with the birds. However, the council doesn't feel they're ready for the Artists for Humanity mural yet. So I'm just gonna read the letter that they sent to the council. It says, Dear Boston Public Art Commission, the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway, formerly the Friends of the East Boston Greenway, and the community have greatly enjoyed the murals on the Greenway. However, the murals are temporary, and the time has come to replace the murals on the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway since the materials have greatly deteriorated. The Friends are working with Harbor Arts and National Public Art Organization Pangea Seed Foundation to install 2 new murals on the Greenway this mid-September. This part of Sea Walls, Artists for Oceans, a larger mural installation that is happening in East Boston. We are very excited to work with the Artists for Humanity on the art installation at Maverick Street, especially since it's at the same location as the Summits mural that was painted by youth. However, we're still in discussion as we review the art piece that Artists for Humanity created. We request that the Maverick Street mural submission to review at a future Art Commission meeting. Sincerely, Karen Magdalena, President of the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway. So yeah, again, like we are 100% supporting the Safi line, but we still want to keep discussing the second design. Thank you.
Could you say a little bit about what the concerns might be?
Yes, give me a second. I'm gonna pull up the other letter that I have here. Yes, basically they were concerned that the topics in the wall were like totally regarding the elements on East Boston and problems with sea level rise there. So they wanted to, the art piece to sort of, based on the idea that it's already depicted there, to showcase more of Massachusetts or New England marine life instead of this more surrealistic vision of climate change in general. And like they wanted to change the buildings in the background to something more local. That was like a very brief.
We usually wait until the end for me to respond.
I think it would be okay for you to have a.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, I'm a little surprised, but maybe, you know, one of the things that we heard a lot of, we got a lot of community support from friends of the Greenway that live in East Boston. And, you know, you know, we had talked about how this project was, you know, created by youth, and they only had 1 week to design it because they just got back to they just began their fall program, and they only had 1 week to design it before the BAC meeting. And it was created by youth in our neighborhood, and the buildings depict their view of Boston. So it's, you know, it's a little surprising to hear that, you know, the buildings aren't relevant to the community when they were actually designed by youth in the community. that this represents, the youth on the design team for this this mural represent the community. So it's also a bit surprising that we're hearing of this now. But that being said, I think that we can all agree that Artists for Humanity was not commissioned to paint something that specific members of the Greenway Council, are asking for. I think that as long as the community is in support of the ideas of our youth in East Boston, that we should allow the youth to paint this mural, because delaying would basically cancel the project at this point, since all of the equipment has already been rented and everything has been moved forward, and we got all the support from the community in order to make those decisions to rent that equipment. So it's a bit surprising and concerning that some, maybe only a couple members from the Greenway Council or Friends of the Greenway would be so moved to silence the voices of our youth in the community.
Okay. There are two other hands raised that are, Maria, I see that your hand is raised as well. We'll come back to you, but there's two other hands that are raised that don't have names attached to them. So if your phone number starts with 617-335, if that's you, you have your hand raised and you can unmute yourself and address.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Could you make sure to state your name, because we don't have it on your.
I understand. Yeah, my name is Kanan, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm the director of EST Farm in East Boston. And I also host.
Full name?
Sorry?
Could you just repeat your name, your full name?
Kannan, Kanan. Last name is Thiruvengadam. We're going to be here for a while if I'm going to spell that.
Thank you.
Thiru. Do you want me to? Okay, never mind. So I'm the director of EC Farm, which is an urban farm in East Boston. And with two other organizations, Harbor Keepers and the Pierce Park Sailing Center, we do environmental education classes for students in the K through 8 students in the neighborhood. I also host a show called What's Up Eastie, which is a Zoomix radio show. And the reason I mention that is because Mary Ellen Welch, who the Greenway is named after, used to be my co-host on the show. And I really enjoyed having her. And if anybody wants to learn more about East Boston's history and Mary Ellen's fight to create from the Rail to Trail program, the Greenway, and many other things that she's been involved in, she was a very inspiring person, still an inspiring figure. So I would encourage you to check out whatsupec.com. So we take the kids through the Greenway often. Of course, we use the Greenway often as residents in the neighborhood because it is a green common amenity, a beautiful amenity for us. However, it does feel a little neglected and ignored. And because of all these murals under Border Street, Maverick, and Sumner, with the exception of the Nonas and Abuelitas mural, which was done recently by Heidi, we really appreciate that one. But after that, there's been nothing, and it does feel neglected. All these 3 streets and the spaces under. And when you see neglect, then you just get this negative feeling, and it goes into this vicious impact of people abusing the space even more. Whereas you turn into something beautiful, then people actually respect that. So we appreciate the opportunity, even as the organization and myself as a person, I appreciate the opportunity that Pangea Seed and Harbor Arts are bringing to our neighborhood here with this piece. And I think earlier, Matt was talking about environmental inclusivity or intersectional environmentalism. I look at it from an environmental justice perspective. And we are an EJ community. For those of you who may not know, East Boston is an EJ community. And it is also now a climate justice community because we're a climate frontline. And whenever somebody says we're an EJ community or a CJ community, what that means is people in this community are not causing the problem. they can't do much about the problem. They will be affected the earliest by the problem, and they will be affected the most by the problem. So we're that community, and the kids understand it. And we've not been trying to teach this as something to depress or make people sad. We've been teaching this to kids with the idea of empowering them and enabling them to take action. We took them out to the sea to watch whales and things like that. So kids are excited about art like this. They want to see art like this. And this one is particularly beautiful, and it is thought-provoking. It brings, as Matt said, something that's not visible to us in front of us because we need to be aware of what we're doing to our environment. So I like that there's an opportunity to turn one of these neglected spaces into a beautiful space that's thought-provoking. And the fact that it's coming from the youth, as one of the commissioners said, it's very, very exciting. And we should let the youth do what they want, so they have a sense of ownership of this art. Also, I think because there are so many other spaces, as Maria said, there are opportunities where we could do more of the Belle Isle Marsh and more local to East Boston things. But East Boston is part of Boston, so it's good to see Boston. We see Boston here from downtown Boston from here all the time. So I like this mural. I just wanted to support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments and support. The next speaker also doesn't have a name associated. It's Samsung Sim G9. If that's your phone number or your phone address, your hand is raised. I believe that's the last person with a hand raised. So if your hand was raised, it may be you. No, no takers. Okay, so next up we have Chris Marchi. Unmute yourself and.
Yes. Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Sorry, I've had a very bad connection. So I'm very pleased to give support for the.
I think we've lost you now.
I heard the word support though first.
The key word got through.
Commissioners, this is Sarah.
Number of years.
Chris did message me.
Okay, would you like to read his message if that's possible?
I can read his message. He has a very poor connection. He supports approval of the art, providing that the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway and community have time
Haven't for the last
to discuss.
year or so.
I think he's still trying to speak. I'm sorry. As a lifelong East Boston resident, he thinks the message and art are wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Chris, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Sarah, I didn't quite hear. It kind of went off. He said as long as the Greenway Committee had what?
As long as the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway and community have time to discuss. As a lifelong East Boston resident, I think the message and art are wonderful. That's what he had written to me.
Matthew, can you just make a little bit more clarity around your schedule?
Yeah, we'll be painting on Sunday.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we can move forward probably as long as we get, whoever it is on the, from what I'm hearing, there are 2 people from our community that, actually, I'm sorry, I'll say they are not from our community, but they do sit on the board of the Greenway. But the resounding voices of the community are in support of the mural created by our youth. Unfortunately, we have a couple of voices from outside of our community that sounds like trying to silence the voices of our youth. But I'm hoping that we can all agree that we don't need to let that happen.
Okay, next.
Commissioner, I apologize. Chair Pasnick, Karen Madalena, the president of the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway, would also like to speak.
Okay. Well, there's one more before her. So
okay, thank you.
Gail Miller has a hand raised. Gail Miller, if you're on, please.
You're on, Gail.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello. I think we've
Hello?
lost. Yes, you're ready to speak?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Karen Madalena. I'm president of the Friends of the East Boston Greenway Council. We have been, the people that are speaking are members, but we have a structure. There's the executive committee and then the members of the Greenway Council. The executive committee has been working with Matt with regard to this mural. And we were presented and he has not met the timeline that was discussed.
All right, Karen, I'm gonna just stop you there. The kids had just started school.
I'm sorry, Matt, please let one person speak at a time.
May I continue, please?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We have a coordinator, the Greenway coordinator, Michelle Moon, who has been working with Matt. We've worked with the first presentation, which he showed you the sparrows, and there was a give and take in that, and then it finally was, resolved. But this other project is in discussion, and the people that are speaking are members of the Greenway, but they do not speak, excuse me, they do not speak for the whole Greenway Council. And we are willing, what Maria read in the letter is our position, and we are willing, we are in negotiation, and our sentiments are reflected in what Maria read to you. And these people that are speaking, we appreciate their input, but they are not representing the whole committee, and we are not against the youth and their creativity. We are willing to work with them and to work with Matt, but the timeline that that was requested in the system has not been met, and we were just presented this rendering on Friday, and it was supposed to be before that, and we're still in negotiation, and I request that you defer a vote on this and heed to the letter of the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welsh Greenway, because this is how an organization works. Thank you very much. And we're not against it. We're not against the youth, but we're working towards resolving the problems. And Matt is working for the Greenway Council, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Do I have a chance to respond, or?
I agree that you defer the vote and go with what the executive committee and the Greenway council members are requesting. Thank you.
Karen, before we do that, before Matthew has a chance to make a comment, can you just give us a little bit of context here? If we were to vote to approve or not approve this piece, we could still vote and say that the two groups need to work out differences. I mean, if we vote it down, it takes a whole nother month before we'd have a review of it again.
Sure. I mean, so I think first they're separating the two walls from each other, right? Yep. So they could receive different reviews. Secondly, I would say that you certainly could vote to approve pending the support of some of the speakers today. So for example, so we could say pending the support of the Friends of the Mary Ellen Welsh Greenway. That could be a vote that you would consider giving. I think in terms of process to finish hearing the testimony before Matt responds would probably be a good idea. But I think that's some framing that could be possible, given, with the understanding that, Artists for Humanity and the Friends of the Greenway would be supportive.
Are they the only two groups that are involved in this project, or are there others that might need to be included in a conversation pending a vote? I'm curious. I don't know who can answer that question.
I can.
So I think Matt will ask you to speak again, but I think for now, my understanding is this is City of Boston property with a friends group, and then we have the artists, and then we have the sort of curatorial organization and organizing folks that Matt would be a part of. So there are a number of different people involved.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
I believe we've spoken to everybody on the list. There are some hand raised, but none of them have been able to speak. Maria would like to speak again, it seems. Is that correct, Maria?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it short because actually Karen showed up and talked herself, which is great, because I don't want to put like words in some other people's mouths. I felt like the miscommunications that have been happening in between us, there was no need to put them in this meeting. But it is true that sort of we had some timeline schedule that wasn't accomplished. So the Greenway Council wanted to review the art in advance, and that wasn't possible. However, as things are, we do want to have art in the Greenway. It's part of the project. That's why the Bar Foundation gave us the money for, and how we have been kind of trying to support the work that Matt has put with a lot of effort. So actually, I do think it would be a good idea if Karen supports here what Karen is, suggested of voting with this pending of approval, which will give us still one more week to sort of tweak the things that need to be fixed to sort of fix this problem and keep going with the art. Because of course, everybody wants to have a lot of art. And as we said, we do support the youth. It was just like, even, okay, this is totally my personal opinion, but I'm an architect and a landscape architect. And I know that when I came up with a project in 1 week, it's not always the best option. That doesn't mean it's not good at all. It means that you can rethink it and it's totally fine. And we're still hearing the voices of the youth. We have never wanted to silence that. Although it is a good question, if we're doing this process, who else might need to be included? Because there has been a lot of discussion of including the community here, but we are not talking about who in the community we are talking with. So the Greenway Council has an ownership in this part of the Greenway, right? And that's why we're consulting with that. But it could be possible that we want to include more people to make it like really equal in the decision making. Thank you.
Matthew, would you like to make a last comment before we move to deliberations?
Yeah, I would like to make a last comment. Just speaking to the timeline that it's been discussed, we had actually communicated on several occasions, and it seems there was maybe a miscommunication on the end of the Greenway. But the reason that they weren't able to get a design earlier is that the students at Artists for Humanity just began their fall programming on Monday of last week. So they only had 4 days to come up with this design. That being said, they had been in discussion before that week started, and they had a little bit of time. They were, as a group, very happy with the design, as well as we heard a resounding support from the community, and I'd be happy to provide a letter of support from other community organizations, as well as from the actual Friends Council, and once we, from the Greenway Council, and once we can get to a point where, everyone on the Greenway, Friends of the Greenway board understands that, it was not a commissioned piece, but it was a piece that it was requested that we work with Artists for Humanity so that youth can have their voices heard in East Boston, that we want to actually allow those youth to share their original artwork and not be, the feedback that we did get from, again, only 1 or 2 people on the Greenway's board was to essentially change their entire concept to be realist and not imaginative, which is not fair to the youth of East Boston. So, their requests are not possible. I hope that we do come to an understanding with those two individuals that wanted to see realist art from the youth, but they saw instead a different type of art. So, you know, I think that the important thing is that the Greenway, which right now has dilapidated art, dilapidated bridges, was going to be painted by a group of teens who are very excited to paint in their community. And it would be a shame to, you know, put a stop to that because two individuals on the Greenway, Friends of the Greenway, didn't like, you know, art that was not realist art. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, so I think we should move on to deliberations here. And it does seem as Karen.
I'd like to say
Sorry.
something. I would like to say something.
Sorry, who's speaking?
Karen.
This is Madalena. The two people that made the decision are not the two. It was an executive board. And we are willing to work with
On the
Matt.
executive board.
I think we need to change.
Organization, and we're willing to work with them. And I resent the fact that what he's trying to imply. We just wanted to.
It's very clear that the Greenway has some issues.
Okay, I need to ask you both to
go on record that it's just not a couple of people. It's
you did state your point earlier. Thank you.
Executive board, and one of the people on it has expertise. I'm not going to mention her name. And
Karen, we need to allow the commissioners to have some time to talk about this, and I hope you'll stay on the line as they ask their questions, and maybe there'll be a question that you need to answer. But I think we have the gist of what's going on, and we need to move forward with allowing the commissioners to speak, okay? Thank you so much.
Okay, so commissioners, are there any comments from commissioners before we move to deliberations?
Yeah, I have a comment. You know, when I saw the mural, I was quite surprised, one, that it was done by young people, particularly because of the surrealistic style that it was done in. I think it's a remarkable painting, and I think it'll add to the community and add to the public art within the community. I'm not sure how to make a motion or to even vote on this, because I can't tell if it's really about the art or about miscommunication between the members of the Greenway and the art project coordinator, Matthew. If somebody can help me with that, I really would appreciate it. But I did want to cite that I thought the mural talked about the endangered species, as well as the flooding the possible flooding of areas within Boston.
Thank you. We should also be clear that there's two murals here, correct? And that
Yes.
Rising Tide seems to be supported by the Greenway, and Resurgence seems to be the issue. So I wonder if it would be helpful if the commission divided two motions at this
Eric,
point.
can you pull up the images?
And I would maybe make a recommendation. So this is the one that I believe is, sorry, the earlier one is the one that was disputed by.
Yes, it seems like this is the one that is under question.
And the second one that shows the birds is not under dispute. So I am wondering if maybe we could have a motion to accept this piece and then a second motion to accept the other piece with a set of requirements that the youth organization, that Matthew and his organization works with the Greenway organization to resolve the disputes, and that maybe staff from the Art Commission can help mediate.
So here's a possible addition, but Mark, I was thinking that since this is likely to be a Zoom meeting between the parties that are interested, maybe one of the commission members could sit in to help as well, to facilitate a coming together of minds on this second mural.
Commissioner, staff.
Well, I was going to say commission, but you know, I'm open. But I think
maybe one of each.
maybe one of each, just to help with mediating and staying on track with what we're actually voting on.
I actually have a question. I'm a little bit confused. Is the sentiment that is not for this resurgence mural that it's not representational, or because rules weren't followed? Because this is representational, it's not abstract. Or is it a part of a larger issue that deadlines weren't met?
It's more surreal is what they're suggesting. I mean,
they both kind of are.
I would just like to speak. It's not that the timeline wasn't met. We just wanted to just postpone it and have a discussion. You know, it can be approved pending a resolution of the outstanding issues.
What are the outstanding issues?
Can we not rehearse those right now? I think we need to.
They're listed, and I don't want to go into details because it's just becoming.
I think you can resolve that later. That's not business in front of the Art Commission right now. So let's move towards a vote. And I think that we can vote in two votes. One in which, if there is, could somebody make a motion for the first piece, which is Rising Tides?
I will make a motion that we accept Rising Tide to be installed in East Boston.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, commissioners who are in favor, just state your name as you say. Lisa?
Aye.
Aqua?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Cara?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Michael, sorry, I just got muted.
George.
Sorry?
George.
Oh, George, yes, George.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the first motion passes. Rising Tides has been approved. Do I have a second motion for Resurgence? I think Aqua, you have the beginning point.
I would like to, well, I don't know if I can offer two motions, but I will try. My motion is that we accept conditionally Resurgence to be installed in East Boston at the Porter Street Bridge, pending a meeting between the Friends Group, the curators, and representation from the Boston Art Commission to work out the finer details.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, I'll read off Aqua.
Yes.
Of course. You made the motion. George?
Yes.
Cara?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes, but I have a question. Is Artists for Humanity also represented in this, or is somebody representing their interests?
I would be representing their interests in this case.
Okay, so yes. That's a yes from Lisa?
If you had some of the young people to participate so that they can see how these things get worked out along with you, Matthew, if you can.
Okay, and I'm also a yes on that motion, so the motion passes. Okay, so we have two motions, and Matthew, please be in touch with the commission staff to set up a meeting time where you and the community group from the Greenway can get together and finalize the second piece, but you have our approval to go forward with the first piece.
Mark?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mark, if the BAC decides to move forward with having a representation from staff as well as the commission, I would happily sit on that.
Great, thank you for volunteering, Lisa.
Great.
Okay, thank you all. I realize that sometimes these are complicated issues. We hope to be able to help you, but I hope everybody will come to the table with a desire to see good art appear in the city, and that a sense of trust can be built among the various groups involved. So please enter into the conversation that way. And we look forward to seeing these artworks in the future.
Great.
Thank you very much. It's Karen Madalena speaking.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen.
Okay, so I believe we're going to move on to the next agenda item.
That looks like it.
So that's it. We did get some other requests for people who wanted to make comment, but I don't know if it's relevant to this or another project. I will say, Sarah, if you could take away the presentation and bring it back so we can look at Lily's proposal. Unfortunately, Lily had to step away. And she just wanted to say that she's very excited to create a public piece that can support the visibility of the Massachusetts people. So we'll be pulling that up now, and we apologize for not including it. We didn't think she was ready to share it, so we hadn't put it in the presentation, but we do have it. I think we just have to refresh the presentation and add it. And we also have Randy Hopkins here with us, who is the visual arts curator. Randy, I'm sorry if I got your title wrong, at the BCA, who can maybe give us a little bit more information.
Randy, do you want to say a word?
Yeah, I'm so glad to have us considering this. I apologize. I just lost power here for a minute. So I'm also, I think, something weird in the air right now. But I am extremely excited to be working with Lily on this project. And it is going to be cited. I just got confirmation from my team that the sites that Lily proposed are going to work well. All of our campus stakeholders are excited about situating a beautiful piece. We haven't been able to do much art in person, and Lily has actually proposed a more traditional work than what we usually do in our public art projects. And we're like, it feels like a really beautiful moment to actually see a painted, hand-carved, very moving piece of art. The sketch is, it is really raw, I think, and I think that's probably why I didn't think to necessarily include it right away. I think Lily's going to be working in situ, thinking about the relationship with the land and what she wants to say in that setting. But I do appreciate, as part of this project, that this piece is actually going to end up having images as well as text. And so I think it's going to be very engaging, and it's going to be something that people who are passing by on the BCA Plaza are going to be able to engage with and learn a lot from. And then there will also be supporting material on the BCA's website that people will be directed to be able to go deeper into this and interact with it. And also hopefully public performance work that will further bring the piece to life over the course of the time that it will be with us on the plaza. So.
Okay,
and it's a relatively small piece, as you can see. It takes up a little small, it's very intimate kind of in its scale. So it's situated someplace where people walk by, and we'll also be able to sit on the stone wall behind it to experience it. But it's only, I think it's like 5 feet tall and about 4 feet wide. And it's a beautiful old piece of wood that has been sourced to have a lot of emotional impact. And it is, I think will actually be a very emotional sort of healing chance to get to interact with art in public in these times.
And do you know when the artist would be on site?
Yeah, Lily is already in residency. The piece of wood was already dragged up to her residency studio at BCA and is ready to start being carved. And if permission goes forward, which we hope for, she'll start carving it and hopefully be able to install it by the end of September. It'll get carved, painted, and then it's finished with a natural kind of an oil sealant that I think will protect and be really beautiful on the piece.
Great, thank you. I'm also looking forward to seeing the process. I live 5 doors down from there, so I can
nice.
see it every time I walk out my front door. I'm looking forward to see the evolution.
Randy, I have a question about the red in the photograph you received. Is that the color that we are looking forward to this piece being primarily in red? Or is that?
No, not at all. I would say that those photos were literally taken by Lily last week in the challenges of COVID, actually having us on site to discuss the siting of the piece, even though it's a pretty straightforward little piece. actually being there together to cite it has been challenging. And so Lily just went by, took pictures with her own phone, sent them to us with this kind of blocked out. So it is very much just like a placeholder to show location.
Thank you.
Randy, I have a question. You mentioned text, words. Will they be separate and didactic, or will they be part of the piece?
They're being envisioned as being part of the piece, which I'm really thrilled about, because as I'm sure you guys all know, actually making sure that both the artist and the idea are really well kind of like explained in certain ways for people where this might not be a familiar concept for them. It's so awesome to have the artist actually like bring it into the piece itself. Once I am anxiously waiting to see what Lily's going to propose specifically for the language, but we will have signage in addition to that to make sure that people know who the artist is, where they can find out more about it on the website. So we always do some kind of signage in the garden to accompany the piece, but it's super nice to have the piece like really speak for itself too. And Lily's very eloquent. I'm sorry that she's not here to speak for the piece, but her own like the language and the way she uses language and her mixture of native language and English in such a like kind of beautiful, elegant way. I'm hoping to see all that reflected in the language that is on the piece, but I haven't seen language yet.
Hi, Randy. I have a question. I love the elegant simplicity of the piece on one side. Will there be anything on the back side, or will it be just varnished wood?
I think it will be both sides. I think the image will be on one side and that the text might be on the other. That I think might be the like most recent conversation. I am not positive, but I think this is really made to be able to be seen from all sides. And so I think that there'll be image or text on the back as well.
Thank you.
Our garden has looked better, to say, those pictures.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I think that that staff will continue to review this project with Lily and with your organization, Randy, and that we can proceed with there, knowing that the commissioners have reviewed it or seen it and are enthusiastic about it, and staff will continue the process.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing it.
Thanks, Randy. So I think that was the end of our agenda items. We are getting some comments over chat. I just want to put forward to the commission. We had a couple other people asked to speak. I'm not sure it's related to an agenda item. And I know I see a hand up right now from Pierre Belanger and Ghazal Jafari and Pablo Escudero. And so I don't know, Mark and Nikwa, how you want to manage that. I also know over chat, we got comments with questions relating to the mural at the Tubman House. So there are a few different items that were not on our agenda that have been brought up for your attention.
We have a little bit of time. We could listen to a few brief statements from people. And then
Sure.
I don't know if you would want to make any observations about the Tubman House project.
I'm not entirely sure what the question is. We did get an email recently on the topic asking about whether or not public funding to a mural on private property required our involvement. We have sent that to legal. It is not my understanding that it does. I don't know what the impact of the, federally, the Visual Arts Rights Act would have on it, but I don't believe it would be under the purview of the Art Commission. But we have sent those questions to our Corporation Counsel and we're looking for some direction there. So I will share that.
Okay, great. Then we could, it looks like 3 people have raised their hands, so we'll go through them in succession. Pierre Belanger. Pierre, if you unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks very much, Mark. So I have 2 questions. The first one is for Mark and Ekwa. This is in regards to the undertaking of the process about the inquiry for the Columbus statue. My first question is there an understanding of the costs that are associated that have been expended to date with the storage removal and ongoing storage that's projected regarding the statue and how much this is going to cost for the public?
I could refer that question to staff.
Okay. The question was about what the cost would be. We don't have that finalized yet. Pierre, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the meeting. For anyone who's joined us since, at the beginning of the meeting, we went over some information that we shared about conservators' reports that we've received.
Sorry, Karen, to interrupt. He's specifically talking about Columbus, not about...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So on Columbus, we received conservators' report. And we are, one of them just came in this morning, and so we're still looking at the details of that and the costs. I don't know if anyone at this meeting was here for it. We will be posting this meeting online, so if you missed it, you can return to it. You can also send us questions at bac@boston.gov, but we don't have, I don't have on hand firm numbers, Pierre, if that was your question, if I understood correctly. Sorry, there was a truck going by me, so I may have missed some of your language.
That's okay. That was the first part of the question. The second part of the question, as you undertake this process of inquiry for the Columbus statue, I understand that this is a question for the members of the commission. As volunteer members of the Boston Art Commission, yes or no question from each of the 7 members present. You're all politically appointed by the mayor of Boston. So I'd like to ask if the mayor's office, Representative Aaron Milkowitz, the Boston Arts and Culture Director, or the Italian American Alliance has directed you or coerced you in any way in the process of decision-making about the course to undertake about the Columbus inquiry. It's a yes or no question for each one of the 7 members of the commission.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's how we work here. However, I will say that we're independent. We are appointed by various agencies and approved by the mayor's office. So I don't think that we need to answer that question for you. However, you should know that the whole idea of the Boston Art Commission is an independent body that regulates art in the city. And therefore, I think, we are not under political pressure.
Thank you. That answers my question, Mark. Thank you.
So there was our next speaker is Giselle Jafari, sorry.
Hello, everyone. Do you have my voice?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Ghazal Jafari. I'm an architect and researcher from Boston, and I was involved in the investigation of the Columbus Statue and Park in the Open Systems report. I have a question from Ekwa and Mark regarding the process of inquiry of the Columbus statue. Based on the report submitted by Open Systems, there is no proof that the statue belongs to the city of Boston. Why is the statue not given to the Italian American Alliance, who lays claim to it, so that they can store it or displace it on a private property in whatever way they want?
Thank you for your question. I can also refer that to staff. I don't know if we have an answer to that yet. We've just begun our process of legal review, so we don't have a definitive answer to your question, but we appreciate your thoughtfulness on potential solutions.
Yes, I'll just answer that, and again refer you, in case you'd missed the beginning of the meeting, we did lay out that we are reporting out information that we have, and that we will be having more time for public comment on this issue and receiving comment, also written testimony online if you wanted to share your suggestions there, and the commission will review all of that as we go forward.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. What are the costs of relocation, storage, and restoration for the statue this year? And what have been the costs of restoration in the past 10 to 20 years? Can you share that information with us?
Karen just answered that question moments ago, that we will share that when we have that information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Pablo is next.
Correct. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. My name is Pablo Escudero. I'm an architect, urbanist, and a researcher. I'm part of the team involved in the investigation of the Christopher Columbus statue and park in the Open Systems report. My question is for Mark and Equa. As members of the Boston Art Commission, have you seen and or read the open letter to the mayor and accompanying report by Open Systems submitted as testimony last month detailing the corruption of Mayor Kevin White, Arthur Stivaleta, and Fred Langone that led to the planting of the statue in 1979? The following question, I have also a second question. Have you been in contact with Mr. Dawson, the original planner of the park, to understand the truth about the park before its renaming and placement of the statue in 1979?
So again, that's not how our system works here, that we don't just answer all questions given to us. In general, I would say that we're at the beginning of our process and we plan to review all sorts of material that are provided to us, letters from various organizations and individuals. As Karen reported, there's over 100 letters that have already been submitted. I've read many of them. And that we will continue that process in the coming weeks and months to evaluate all the material that we have. And we appreciate organizations that are sharing information with us, but we also need to ask for your patience as we go through a deliberative process. Karen or Equa, do you want to add anything? No. Okay, we have one last speaker who's raised their hand, Jared. It's hard for me to read your name, sorry.
I think, do you mean Jared Cazziani?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's me. Hi, my name is Jared Cazziani. I'm a lifelong Southend resident, and I'm the individual that sent the email regarding the Tubman House. I realized it wasn't on the agenda today. However, I didn't know when is the proper time to raise questions about that, because a friend of mine months ago, pre-COVID, emailed arts and culture staff and just never heard back about, you know, what's going on with that. So I know one of you mentioned that it's going to be referred to legal department. So I'm just curious, how does one now find out what the legal department's decision is? I mean, will I get a reply? Do I have to, you know, keep calling or writing? Like, how does this process work? Essentially, I mean, it's for all intents and purposes that the honor roll mural is very much public art. I mean, it might be attached to United Southland Settlements building, but I think anyone walking by would consider that public art. So it also has never appeared on the city public art map, which I don't know if that's only for fully funded public art projects by the city, but it's on many, many other websites for cultural and historical walking tours. And as an aside, on August 19th of 2019, Commissioner Holmes stood outside the Tubman House when there was a BPDA meeting, and I was present, and she spoke very eloquently about that the Tubman House Gallery was the first venue to exhibit her work when she was starting. And I mean, I bought work from her personally before, her cards. I mean, it was a very moving moment, and I'm just really curious. I found it a bit odd too that it's just never ever been addressed by the Arts Commission or the city. Like folks in the community like myself who've been trying for over a year now to just get some answers have been met with silence. Thank you.
Okay, as Karen mentioned, it has been referred to, maybe Karen can repeat that, but to our legal, it's a question of whether we have purview over this site. And whether the artwork is under our purview. We have a limited scope of purview, and we certainly would encourage you as a private citizen to continue your advocacy. We all want to save as many artworks as possible. Karen, do you want to address that at all?
Sure. So I'd say that it's a two-part question, right? So when you're speaking with us, we have the Art Commission, and to Mark's point, we have a very particular purview with the Art Commission, where the commission reviews artworks on City of Boston property. Whether they be interior or exterior. With the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, we certainly have a broader interest, and I think that may be where your concern would end up following. So it might be more in conversation with myself, the other public art team members, and with Cara Elliott Ortega here. So we will follow up with you in terms of your questions about getting things on the website. That is oftentimes an oversight, and we are trying to gather as much information about public artworks as possible. So I hope that is helpful to you. If you want to keep writing us, we can talk about that. I know we have a couple other people in line. I think I see next in line is Lynn Courier and then Matoan. I think we have a little bit of time left, Mark. I don't know if.
Yeah, actually Matoan was up earlier. I think
she keeps taking it up and down and moving herself to the bottom of the list, I think is the problem.
Matoan, would you like to speak now? If you can unmute yourself.
I'll let Lynn speak first and then after her. Thank you.
Okay, so Lynn, you're the second to last speaker. Lynn Courier, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Matuan. I have a question, but I have to introduce it specifically. I do anti-racism work, and I just want to share that one of the most concrete definitions of racism is when one group or groups with more power in a society do not give as much sensitivity, voice, power to a group that has less. We all know that Indigenous people in Boston have less power than the Black community and other communities. I'm very, very deeply involved in both the Black and Indigenous communities, being Indigenous and having a Black son. What my concern is, and I would like a very direct answer as an artist as well, is why are you postponing and doing, you know, backroom, so to speak, meetings about the Columbus statue, which to us, as you well know, is like a Hitler statue or David Duke statue, but the Black community immediately got a hearing. This is very deeply concerning to me, my son, and other Indigenous youth that I work with. And as an artist, it's very concerning to me. Why are we being treated differently in this process? Why is it so vague and private?
So I'll just emphasize that this has not been a private process in any manner. It is a process. Sorry?
There's no hearing. Why did the Black community get a hearing immediately around the Emancipation statute?
We actually took quite a lot of time to build up to that set of hearings as well, and that's what we're doing right now. So we're.
How long did it take? I'm sorry, but
can I just say one thing?
How long did it take?
It wasn't the Black community that got a hearing. It was the city of Boston that got a hearing.
Right, and we'd like the same AQUA. We'd like the same AQUA, okay?
Boston when it's Christopher Columbus, but let's not fracture ourselves at this point. I think that
you're avoiding the question.
No, I'm really not. I'm just addressing your language because I think it's divisive.
And if it sounds that way, it's because I'm being very direct, and we all know what goes on in Boston. And I'm sorry if my directness makes you uncomfortable.
Not at all. I'm being direct also, and I just want to say that we want
What's the answer? What is the answer? Why are we being treated different? Why is this statue being treated?
I can't talk over you because that would be rude. So when you're done, then let me finish.
Yeah. Okay.
May I speak now?
May I speak after you're done? Thank you.
Okay. So I just want to say that care was taken to address the Emancipation Group, and care is being taken to address the Christopher Columbus statue. It may not look like they're the same and nothing is going to be entirely equal, but I feel that the commission and the BAC staff are just as concerned about the Christopher Columbus statue and hearing all voices and making the best decisions that we can make as they were about the Emancipation Group. And I hope that you trust me on that.
I just like to, the reason I'm concerned, and we'll stop, obviously, I didn't come on here to have a debate or an argument, but share my very, very deep concern for what I'm observing. But I saw the process go very quickly. And I think the two statues were brought up pretty much simultaneously, but Columbus has been brought up for probably over a decade. So it's not a new thing. But how long did the process take for the Emancipation statue that the city voted on?
The Emancipation statue has been contested for probably 100 years.
No, I'm talking about the recent one where you got a petition. Please just answer the question. I'll let everyone.
I didn't.
You don't know?
No, I don't retain facts like that.
We had four meetings.
You know.
Okay, and how many weeks was that? I just want just a clear answer. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I just would like an answer.
Why? Then I would like to reply that you're continually, and several people have implied that we are somehow doing backroom deals here. We have an open meeting law. All of our meetings and deliberations happen in open sessions, and that's part of the complication of why it takes some time, because we have to set up special meetings and we have to go through a process. So we're in all good conscience trying to do that, and I hope that you can trust us and stay a watchdog on top of us. I'm happy to have pressure from you and the community to do good things, but we are attempting to do the right set of processes to review this work and to determine the future of that site.
Well, I don't want to be a watchdog with other artists. It's very painful to me, to be honest, but I'm just being honest. You said you met 4 times. I'm just curious how many days or weeks that was, because I remember it was quite quick. And I was really happy about that. I work very, very closely in the Black community. I was very happy about the Emancipation statue, and I was hoping for the exact same treatment, nothing different, for the Indigenous community and the people of Boston who are concerned about the statue. So I'm just curious, the 4 meetings, how long, what period of time? Was it a month?
Both of these discussions started in 2018.
I'm talking about the recent one where.
Thank you for your input.
Okay, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good tap dancing, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to comment a little bit on this. I want to be clear that I don't believe that anyone in the Indigenous community here in any way, shape, or form wants to be divisive as between the concerns of the Black community, to whom many of us are with whom many of us are deeply intertwined, and the concerns of Indigenous communities here. I think that's really important to say. And I would say that, you know, we certainly are also grateful that the Black Lives Matter movement has given us a bigger opening now to be able to continue our demand that this Columbus statue come down. And it's something that we've been demanding for a lot of years. I would just like to add, though, that the mayor of Boston said that he understands that racism is a public health crisis. So for the same reason that the Emancipation Memorial had to come down and had to come down fast, we submit and have been submitting that the Columbus statue needs to come down and come down fast, not to have this process that, as was said in August, that may last several months even to come up with the process. So for all of these reasons that we've been talking about on other calls, we are again saying that we have submitted what we think is a fair process for having the hearings. We have submitted initial, very clear reasons about why somebody who committed genocide should not continue to be celebrated in Boston. And we are submitting now that as a public health crisis, this is not something that should be delayed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for those comments. I think that we're out of time, and I'd like to now move into our last piece of business, which is adjournment. And I do hope that those of you who have made comments today about Columbus understand that we are supportive of a robust, honest, truthful process that will come to a conclusion that we may not yet know, but we're required to go through a public process in order to make determinations about works of art. So from commissioners, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor, Aqua?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Cara?
Yes.
And I am a yes, so we've moved to adjourn. Thank you everybody for your input. We do appreciate how passionate people are about these various issues, and we hope that we can get to a place where the city is a better place in the future. Thank you.
See you next month.
See you next month.
Bye.